All Things Bike with Fred Thomas is brought to you by Frame and Wheel, eBay selling services for cyclists and bike shops throughout New England, and AD Bikes, the modern face of Austro-Daimler cycling and the bike company of the future.
Hi there, everybody. I'm Fred Thomas, and you are watching All Things Bike, a new program dedicated to the bicycle, the culture of the bicycle, and the people and the organizations that make the bicycle community roll here and away. We have a great show for you. We are going to be talking to Nicole Pisani of Strategic Racing and Training. Nicole.
Fred.
Welcome to All Things Bike.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thanks for coming down. And you're a coach, and that's such an important thing nowadays if you want to be an athlete. Why would I want to be a coach? Why do I need a coach, do you think?
Well, depending on where you are in your life, take me, for example, or my husband, we just had a baby.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
What's her name again?
Eleanor.
Eleanor.
Yeah, she's
Wonderful.
great. And so we're both finding, as avid racers, that our training is time crunched.
Yeah.
So having a coach is very helpful in allowing us to focus on what we need to get done in terms of training to get us to our next goal, which would be like an upcoming race.
Right.
Or say you just want more structure in your training.
Yeah.
A coach can do all the thinking around that for you and give you the information you need in order to see how good you can get.
Right, and an external force. I mean, that's the way I've thought of it, is that if you don't have some external force, not the force, but an external force saying, well, you should be doing this or you should not be doing that, it makes for a more productive training experience.
I think so.
But do you have to, I mean, what do you have to do to be a coach? I mean, you have to get certified, or, because, I mean, if someone said, Fred, be my coach, I would say, well, you should ride your bike. It would not be very useful. So what did you have to do?
Well, for me, I mean, there are so many resources out there, Fred, for becoming a coach, and depending on what you want to focus on as a coach, whether it be cycling, for example, there's USA Cycling is a tremendous resource for coaches where they have certifications, and that's one of the certifications that I do have, and they've been great. I also specialize in triathlon, so USA Triathlon has a series of certifications to further the professional development of coaches. And then to go back even further, I don't want to age myself, but in college I studied health and science, and so, or health science rather, so focusing on wellness promotion for corporations, but also exercise phys and nutrition for athletes.
That's great. So I mean, you are perfectly certified. But what do they have you do? I mean, do you just have to, do you take a test, or do you go to Colorado Springs and take classes, and
a
or do you
little
have
bit
to
of both.
race or something?
Well, that certainly helps to have your getting your feet wet or lining up to the start line, so you can actually be in the athlete's shoes, per se. Someone else that you're coaching, you can say you've been on that side. That certainly helps. But yeah, depending on the level of certification, both national governing bodies, USAT and USAC, has certain levels of certifications where you have to show up in person at one of their either roaming classes or at Colorado Springs, like you mentioned.
Is that right? Well,
or you can fill out some paperwork, take the tests online, read the books.
No, that's good. So there's a pathway.
So
if I were I'm a cyclist. Let's say I am a cyclist, but I'm looking for a coach, and I say, Nicole, I need to get out of this rut that I'm in. I'm on the trainer, and then I go ride my bike, and then I'm on the trainer, and it's and
that doesn't sound like fun.
Yeah, and I'm not getting any results, and I'm tired of that. Make me a program I mean, how would you, and say I'm just, you know, I haven't done it, it's my first year.
Sure.
What kind of program do you imagine you'd make up for someone like me?
Well, so Fred, I'd talk to you a little bit about your background, your experience, your history as a cyclist, and see what's been happening, what's been going on, and you know, maybe it would be just you want something written down for yourself to go off of on a daily basis, and a way to say, like, someone to hold you accountable, like a coach, right? That helps.
Do you do that? I mean, so I mean, there's the coach that says, send me your power files. And,
absolutely, and we look over them and see if the numbers are being met, and hold both people accountable. And I have to hold myself accountable for prescribing the right intensity of a workout to an athlete as well. But you know, I'd also look at some of the things I do with in general, as I hold a women's cycling educational group where I teach people how to ride bikes for the first time.
Wow,
which is probably the most like enjoyable thing that I've done through my coaching experience. Is, you know, watching someone go from not being able to ride on the road and with traffic, and then
to riding a triathlon bike, which is when you say ride a bike, I mean that's terribly rewarding. So that's sort of very grassroots. That would be part of your initial program, to get out and meet and ride.
It depends on the person, you know. Last night I was meeting with someone one-on-one, going over cycling drills. She gets ready for her first cycling season this year. She's 54 years old, and just really getting started with it, and is having a blast. And I have to say that the one-on-one or the group training is probably the most rewarding. But I also have several athletes that I work with that live across the country, and we just work over the interwebs and rely on apps like Training Peaks to talk to one another. And so those are helpful too.
That's fantastic. So it's not regional. I mean, it's strategic. Racing and training is not it's a national service. Now, there's also an event planning aspect to your company. What's that about?
So I have a background of about 8 years in race promotion and production.
Right.
And that comes from working for Tri-Main Productions.
Oh, yeah.
And that was involved with a number of triathlons in the state.
Right.
And so since then, I started my own company, and I now consult and then own some cycling events.
Wonderful.
One of them is the Casco Bay Cyclocross race.
Okay.
Speaking of Ubercross, the cyclocross bike right here.
I have yet to do that one. I think I did that the first time it came out, and you know, I think I saw my whole future, my whole life flash in front of me on that one section where you go around, and then it just went straight down this dirt little track, and
and the ocean was right there, and you thought, am I going to end up in the ocean?
Somehow I made it, but I think that was the beginning of the end of my cyclocross career. But I had no idea. But that's exciting, and so you do that in the fall, and are you going to run a triathlon event, or is that just too many? Is that too big, or are you going to sort of got some other plans there?
You know, it's been really fun focusing on single discipline events.
Right. I'm sure.
The triathlon event itself takes a team of experts to manage each leg of the event. Yeah, a lot of staff, and I've really enjoyed being part of that staff, part of that race committee for events like the Try for a Cure since its inception, and other events as well. And I love the sort of the brainstorming part of the events where we all get together, and if someone has an idea and they just need help getting it off the ground, that's a part of the event production that I really enjoy doing.
Right. And then these events, when everyone turns up and if they're successful, they take on a life of their own, and then people keep coming back, and
from all
there's
over.
a whole culture and a following, and that's great. I mean, that's and the two complement each other. I'm sure you have some athletes who. I mean, you meet people who see it, and
absolutely.
What about for you personally? I mean, are you going to start racing again, or anytime soon, or do you have any events planned?
I have inspirations, and you know, I took this past year off as I was pregnant.
Yeah, sure.
We did some racing in the spring and early summer, and then dialed it down all the way back to zero,
Yeah.
pretty much. And you know, I miss cyclocross for sure, which has been a huge passion of mine for the past few years.
Yeah.
We have some amazing cyclocross riders in our area. Kurt Parham being for one,
Sure,
another
yeah,
coach who turned me on to the sport, and ever since then, I haven't looked back. So I hope to get back on the circuit this fall.
You would start with cyclocross rather than road or triathlon.
For this year, I could see myself jumping into an event for fun here and there, which is a big part about racing and training, is just to have fun.
That's very true, and
yeah.
also that you said, you know, dialing it back down to zero. I mean, that one of the greatest pitfalls of dedicated athletes is they just overdo it, and they're just like
really into it, and
to ride,
so
I've got to hit
intense.
that, and I'm no. You know, I make that mistake all the time.
Sure. And we've all been there.
That's right, but you know, if you have someone who says, well, look, you just rode whatever 15 hours last week, you really don't have to go out and do it again next week.
That's right.
And especially if
it's a lot of hours.
Yeah, people
on the bike.
People get tired, and that's great. All right, well, Nicole, thanks so much for coming down.
Yeah,
It's good to see you again, and I look forward to seeing your events and maybe participating in them.
That would be great.
Thanks very much, everybody. That was Nicole Pisani of Strategic Racing and Training. You can find out more about All Things Bike on allthingsbiketv.com, and we are on Facebook. Thanks very much for watching, and we will see you next time. Hi, everybody. I'm Fred Thomas, and you are watching another episode of All Things Bike, a new program dedicated to the bicycle, the culture of the bicycle, and the people and the organizations that make the bicycle community roll here and away. We have a great show for you. We are talking with Derek Treadwell, runner, cyclist, coach, and founder of Treadwell Training. Derek, welcome to All Things Bike.
Stoked to be here.
And it's great to have you here. You are a legend. I mean, I can't believe how many legends I've met in the past 24 hours, and you are one of them. You are you are known mostly for some great cycling triumphs, but also for running. You were a successful track athlete. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I guess I started athletics as a runner. Well, I grew up in like rural northern Maine, so everyone starts as a baseball, basketball, you know, other sports. But I ended up matriculating to running, I guess. And then by my senior year of high school, I had kind of enough success. I think I was at state record in the 800 at that point. So I was able to run Division I and kind of built from there.
Wow. When was your Forrest Gump moment? You know, that moment when you really knew that you could run?
You know, it probably wasn't until I was in college till I even associated that I think it kind of built to a lifestyle enough. Maybe my sophomore and junior year in college even.
Right. And you made the switch to cycling. Was that a recent switch or?
No, I ran for a number of years, and then I had some success in college and the Olympic trials and things like that. That basically opened some doors to run after college, and then good and bad, with everything. Lots of injuries and lots of great moments too, and then basically transitioned. The bike has always kind of been part of my life, even as a as a 15, 16-year-old. I had a mountain bike, raced my old stump jumper, and
absolutely,
yeah. And then during injury from running, I would actually, when I was living in Palo Alto at the time, I would jump in this. I had an old cyclocross bike, and I would jump in the group rides, these Wednesday Hammerfests, and these are pretty legit group rides. They're some of the local pros and like guys like Chris Horner.
Yeah, and they all had road bikes too. Right?
Yeah, and they were, so it was always kind of hanging on until we finished on like Kings Mountain Road, which is kind of a famous climb in the area, and I can just kind of have these moments of being like, it just kept selecting and be like 3 of us at the end, right?
That was your Forrest Gump moment on a bike.
Right. Still very focused on running at that time.
Well, you've had some great triumphs, on the bike that have probably informed your move into coaching. Let's talk first about the Mount Washington campaigns that you are known for.
Oh, well, I mean, I've done it a few times. I enjoy going uphill. I think that maybe the running background as well. You just kind of kind of time trial going uphill.
This is for an hour, though, right?
It's an hour, yeah. Have you done it?
I haven't. I mean, I'm pretty good at thinking up excuses on how to avoid it. But maybe this year. Should it be this year? I'm ready. I want to do it.
It'd be good for you. You'd do very well at it.
But you guys are growing up really quick, and it's hard. But I imagine the feeling that you get when you're done is one of tremendous accomplishment, and then people come up to you and say, "How did you do that?" Is that how the coaching things got going? Do you think?
Well, I've been coaching, basically full time for almost 14 years now.
I see.
I was at a college for 9 years. I coached high school in between, while I was still running, and then once I transitioned, I was coaching at a college, full time. Cross country and track, and we developed a cycling team and a triathlon team as well. And even when I was coaching full time, I started working with cyclists consistently. But I would keep keep that number at like 10, 8 to 10 with the number of athletes at the college, which was manageable, and still provide people with that.
Right. But now you have clients, cycling, athletes all over the place. Can you describe them and describe what they seek from you and how you meet their
expectations? I feel like the number of the range of abilities and well, I mean, the amount of time an athlete can put into the training and how much of their lives it can kind of absorb. Varies. I have a few athletes that they're good masters athletes that they need to figure out how to make it work and be successful off 8 hours a week. And then I work with a few kind of pro Cat 1 pro athletes that they have 20 hours. They can build their lifestyle around the training and can kind of make that work. And how do you maximize that from the other direction of being like, whoa, we need to manage fatigue levels now.
I mean, they have a lot of time, and I mean, what are the technologies that you would, or the technologies that you would recommend for some of your athletes?
Well, I think obviously a power meter that are really coming to the forefront in the last decade.
That's right.
Massive. I mean, you both know that, and working together, and I think that power meter. It's just it provides a very good connection between the athlete and coach. I mean, it's just.
And are you asking the athlete to send the power meter file over, and they send it over, and you look at it, and
absolutely.
Wow. And what can you tell? I mean, what can you see? I mean.
Well, I mean, it quantifies a number of things, which is great. I mean, you can tell how above and below. Kind of use like baseline of a threshold or FTP is what the language of it all.
Right.
Yeah, and it just shows these variances in intensity. It shows the amount of work that has been done or is being been done. It shows this compounded level of fatigue from various workouts. Kind of based on an athlete's current fitness level.
Right. So then you can really step in for the guy who's got 20 hours a week and say, look, man,
we need
you're at hour 18 and it's only Thursday.
Well, and you've had 3 weeks of doing this, and and nice thing is I do think a lot of people get almost too involved in the numbers, and coming from a running background where you don't have all those metrics,
that's right.
you kind of look at it a little differently as well. I feel like
that's a great point. I mean, running you can't have a power meter, maybe a heart rate monitor, but what are the trends then? Are there any new trends in coaching that are identifiable or that you can talk about?
Well, in terms of I think in terms of really the individual coaching aspect is is where I feel like it's been going for a while.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that kind of?
I mean, if anything, it sounds like coaching is becoming more of a requisite tool. I mean, everybody needs an external force to guide them on whatever goal they have.
Yeah.
I mean, on that. Sorry, do you have any goals in terms of races or the company? For the next 12 months?
I still compete, myself quite a bit in terms of, I mean, it's getting to be that time of year where athletes are kind of getting into the racing season, right? You're getting out of the part of the season that is controlled, so it's always interesting, that transition where like everything up until now has been very controlled, and the athlete is very able to control. So now you're stepping into this environment that's completely uncontrolled. But racing, but it's just completely uncontrolled, especially road racing.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's always interesting that
Yeah, no, that's right. It goes
direction.
from very organized
Yeah.
to the exact opposite, and
It's like a switch has to
It is a
turn,
switch, but it's essential, I think, to have a coach to say, okay, you have a race coming up, you don't need to train so hard.
Absolutely.
You want to turn up rested and relaxed, and that's the goal. Well, are you going to do Mount Washington this year? Is that on the agenda?
I don't know. I think I'm going to be doing some traveling kind of out west for some of the bigger mountain bike races. There's a race called Pierre's Hole in Wyoming I've been wanting to do, and then Leadville is the week after that. I may do that this year, and then Breck Epic is the following week. So I think it's going to be a pretty big block of
impressive.
Of racing in there.
Leadville 100. I think you'll be ready, having done Mount Washington so many times, and it's great. It sounds like if I were a coach, I would be saying try something new, try something different. Mount Washington's always going to be there.
Yeah.
Try something out in Wyoming.
Yeah, I think absolutely.
It's
I think what happens with a lot of athletes, and myself included too, is you start to build these expectations, and you kind of go to the same events, and if suddenly like a third, which is a great result in some of these events, isn't maybe what you wanted.
Doesn't inspire.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, Derek. Well, thanks so much for coming down, and the best of luck at the races, and we will talk again soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody. That was Derek Treadwell of Treadwell Training. If you would like to know more about Derek's service and what he provides, you can find him on Facebook, Derek Treadwell, and you can reach out to him on email, treadwelltraining1@gmail.com. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next time.